currently eligible for our retirement benefits. They value our liability actually for past service of our employees about $5 million. Each year, per the study from Milliman, we're required to recognize a liability or expense on our books of about $500,000. The majority of that, around $300,000, is general government, and the rest of it is our enterprise funds, sewer, water, rec, plex, solid waste utilities. For the enterprise funds, we are recognizing the expenses on the statements on our books. They're running through the actual expenses. For the general government, they will be recognized on our financial statements that are issued next year for 2008. If you create a separate trust, then you can earn a higher interest rate, or you can recognize a higher interest rate, and their liability is less. But we're not required to set up a trust. All we are liable to do is to recognize the expense as liabilities and tell how much we are actually funding of it. Our plans for general government currently, we're at the top of the tax levy in terms of how much we can raise our tax levy, so this year we couldn't do anything about it. And I didn't recommend, and Mike doesn't recommend, to borrow to fund a liability that's not required to be funded. So we're looking at next year, 2009, looking at a bump up in terms of our shared utility tax from the power plant, and we're looking at considering, this is one of the things that could be funded in part or in full for the general government at that point.
Yes, thank you. That was my next question, was would you recommend to borrow to fund a trust? And I guess the answer is no. Would you ever consider investing in CDOs?
What I've read and heard about CDOs, I would not recommend the village to invest in CDOs.
Thank you. I certainly hope this turns out to be nothing, and I do have reason to be optimistic, I think, because Mr. Hujic is an expert in investments, so I have a hard time believing that it would fall into a gloomy situation through investments. I think he has way too much experience for that to happen, so hopefully I'm maintaining an optimistic outlook that it could be okay. Because sometimes don't always appear to, aren't always real reality what they appear to be. I think we should really be optimistic at this point in time and take a wait and see approach for the time being. But I guess I'm recommending that the Pleasant Prairie School Commission accept the responsibility and be accountable to the board by placing this item on their May 8th meeting. Is May 8th correct? Tuesday? Thursday? May 8th meeting, with this being the agenda item, inviting Mr. Johnson and Mr. Hujic to make a presentation to them, and the school commission would come back to the village board with the outcome and recommendations at the the first meeting in June. And that's my recommendation.
I don't totally disagree with everything you're saying, Clyde, or asking. I'm just wondering if the time frame that you're giving the school commission and the response by the school board to this board is going to be adequate with the time frame. This might be a pretty big, it may require a little bit more time than what you're giving them. I would recommend that they come back with something, but I don't know that we can do it just a few weeks.
Definitely we can take a look at this. We'll put it in the agenda, I consider. The question is inviting Mr. Hujic and Mr. Johnston, whether or not they're going to accept or not. I'm looking at maybe we have to change our agenda, not the agenda, definitely we're going to change the agenda. But we may have to change the time of the meeting. So really we'll postpone from May 1st to May 8th. In that particular occasion, It's also a second meeting, actually the main meeting from the Women's Club, from the ladies' Pleasant Prairie Society, whatever. Consequently, we may have to change the time of the meeting so we can accommodate Justin and Hugh. Because they can say, no, I got a meeting, okay. Tell me when you're able to come to the village. And we have to make sure that we have an open day so they can attend. So those are the logistics we have to work on.
And Steve, being on the school commission, I see this being more than just one meeting with them. So my question to you is, we meet in May, we meet in June, we're off in July and August. If we need to work through the summer, because we only meet once a month,
Yes. July
can
and
we
August
meet
off.
in July and August?
But as I follow the request from Clyde, if Clyde wanna wait till June and July to do it.
No, I'm saying we can still meet in May, but I do see more than one meeting
Oh, okay, you
with
can
the school
extend it.
board.
Extend, yeah, okay.
So my question is if this does go into, we have our meeting in May.
Yeah.
And then we have another
In
meeting in June. And there's still questions or there's still things that need to be wrapped up. Can we meet in July? I've never met in July. In all the years I've been on the school commission, we've never met over the summer. So my question is, are we able to meet throughout the summer if need be?
Yeah, it's our decision to make it. We did it in the past. We met in August, when we did it in September. If there's an issue, they gotta be considered before the beginning of the school year, we meet before. That happened year past.
Many years ago?
Do you want to bring in any outside testimony from folks that have talked on this issue in the papers?
Well, I do think if we're going to, when we do it through the school commission, it should be in the auditorium
That's why they decided to change
and it should be
the
recorded.
date. Yes. They decided to change the date and make sure that they are going to attend the meeting and the auditorium is going to be open to us.
But I think as well, that's good points. To have a meeting and have them make a presentation, to then come back with a recommendation, even if you still have more questions, I would think the appropriate response would be coming back to the board with a recommendation to meet and have the presentation at the board, at a board meeting, to follow up any further questions. Because you do have concerns, and I think that's, you're right in saying you might have more follow-up, but it might be more appropriate to then do it at the board, saying it's a little more complex and will take more time. And that could be a reasonable response. But I do know that, and you can, and my intent wasn't to just restrict it to Mr. Utek. Anybody obviously is invited from Unified, but I do know that making phone calls, that the only one, it appears that the only one allowed to speak on the topic is Mr. Utek in taking phone calls.
But
I just don't know why that's the response I get.
We'll invite the whole board.
So,
you're going to have a majority of the board in that case.
We refer this to the school commission as we suggested. School commission make those contacts, see what's available, the persons and dates, and then set up that time and report back to the board.
Well, it's going to be a partial report, we got to have a follow-up meeting. You know, to make recommendations. You can make, because you can make a decision, or you hear a decision that they make in that particular meeting, in the subsequent meeting, they decide to change it or readjust or whatever. So it's going to be modified again. I'd rather have one final report.
I would also like to ask at that school commission meeting that it is recorded and we do have minutes, like we do for board meetings and planning commission.
But we
It
got
is.
it away, yes. But being we use the editorial definite, we will use the records.